Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. This video comes from TikTok by a user that goes by the name Palm Beach Living, aka Jennifer Charleston. And she posted this video. It's a short clip, but I have other clips of her explaining herself when she stands on business about this. She received a message from a guy she started talking to, and he sent her a message and apparently gave her the ick. She thinks it's repulsive. So she's an older lady. She's in her 50s, and she still thinks she's hot shit apparently, and she thinks she can go for the best person possible that's to her standard. So without further ado, let's see what she has to say.
So I was on the tennis court and I get a text. I wear an Apple Watch. I get a text from someone I have never met and never gone out with before. We have not even been on a first date, and he wrote me a text that says, "Good morning, sunshine." I felt sick to my stomach. That is love bombing. That is inappropriate. That is not cool. Like, that is ick. Oh my God, that's an ick. I just got the icks. What?
It's crazy because it's innocent text coming from a guy. He didn't say, "Hey, sexy," "Hey, love thing," anything crazy like that. He said, "Good morning, sunshine." It's simple and as innocent, excuse me, as you possibly can be, and she gets an ick from that. How? Good morning, sunshine. What if you? Good morning, Death Star. Good morning, ugly. Good morning, some other craziness. But he said, "Good morning, sunshine." Plain and simple. Trying to be just nice, but not too overly aggressive. But yet, apparently, she gets an ick from this. How? He's being nice. He's letting her know that he's there. Excuse me. Talking to her. Letting his presence known. Hello, I'm still here. Good morning, sunshine. Simple as that, right? But yet she gets an ick from that.
What's an ick for you guys? Do you know what an ick is? Like, ick is like, I literally cannot.
She literally cannot. So she's willing to call this relationship off because the guy, whomever, that at the beginning stages of talking says, "Good morning, sunshine." That's wild. It's crazy that, women, I'm not saying all, but some women, when they get older, they keep their delusional stage about them. In their 20s, they think you're hot shit. Okay, you may have a certain way you can request more. You can, have a higher, preference as far as what you want. But as you start to get up there in those twilight years, your preferences and your high standards need to start coming down a notch because you're by yourself still. And you keep it up what you're doing like right now, you're gonna be by yourself on your deathbed with nobody around you. So I'm not understanding what this ick is coming from or what causes her to have an ick. She didn't really explain it. But let's see what these comments have to say. It said, "Is there any age where women stop being delusional?" Yeah. This age group is actually harder to deal with the younger, in my experience. I'm 51 and try to date age appropriate, but it's tough with these Karens. They make it harder for the other women as well. Exactly, because one man that say this woman, he says, say hello, hello. You didn't even say hello, beautiful. He said, "Good morning, sunshine," and she can't handle that. What makes the guy wants to go talk to someone similar to her? She pretty much turned him off from me. Maybe I don't want to do that either because, she might do the same thing. She might call, SA or some craziness for me saying that. You know, you're correct. I feel for you, Safe Harbor, as it seems some women can't be pleased by anything. Exactly. And ick is someone making a TikTok about a random text. Ick. Pretty much. Let's see what the responses say. Completely agree. Wonder how we got her number. Because she gave it to him. She obviously felt some type of attraction in some type of way. He's nice. I could talk to him. He gives you a number. He calls her or texts her, and she gets an ick from it. Yes, textbook TikTok ick. As a female, I swear sometimes I understand why guys give up on dating. We set these crazy picky standards and expect him to know which each female wants and expects. He is better off staying away from you grumpy self. Exactly. Enjoy single life, sunshine. Wow, you're a complete weirdo. He goes on and on. Looks like the dude dodged a big mistake. Exactly. Oh, the horror. Did you call the police? Never approach women in the parking lot. Remember that lady? Guy was trying to probably say, ma'am, you dropped this or this or that. Never approach a woman in the parking lot. So maybe an ick. Definitely not love bombing. I would be appreciated and a good morning text like that. Exactly. Somebody, you wake up, you're single, you have nobody. Somebody, good morning, sunshine. Just start your day, early morning, got a nice vibe, got a nice good message from somebody, you know, wishing you the best that day, and yet you find that an ick. That is crazy work. Wow, you're no fun. Maybe they made a mistake. Exactly. I hope he sees this. He shows not time to waste his time. Exactly. He might have escaped a possible regrettable future relationship. True. Because like this, apparently it's an ick. So good luck finding somebody else. Now she got to go through this process all over again, finding somebody or somebody wanted to approach her. If they give, exchange numbers, and what could say that he doesn't do something similar. Good morning, beautiful. Good morning, Jennifer. Oh, it's an ick. He said Jennifer. He called me Jennifer in the morning. Wild.
So I was on the tennis court and I get a text. I wear an Apple Watch. I get a text from someone I have never met and never gone out with before. We have not even been on a first date, and he wrote me a text that says, "Good morning, sunshine." I felt sick to my stomach. That is love bombing. That is inappropriate. That is not cool. Like,
I'd imagine love bombing would be something like, "Good morning, sexy. Good morning. You're the most beautiful woman that I've met so far this year." You just stuff like, feed into her whole words of affirmation, boo, shit, But it's crazy how I still don't understand. This is weird that she finds that an ick. Let's see what these comments have to say. It's just like it's the same thing over and over again. Should have said good morning, partly cloudy. And then her response was, "This comment wins TikTok this week." She is an ick. Oh no, the horror. Exactly. I wouldn't mind getting that text. You know, it's a woman. She seems pretty reasonable. You know, I want an Apple Watch. Is this your number one red flag? From someone you don't know, yes, that is an ick. It's someone she doesn't know, someone she's familiar with, she's associated with. They exchange numbers somehow. If it was just a random text, like right now, I have my phone, I get a random text, "Good morning, handsome," or some shit like that. I don't know what the number is. I don't know who it is. I don't use the word ick, but that's what it would be, I guess, if I got something like that, something crazy, But yeah, it just goes on and on. Sunshine is a pet name. You wouldn't call someone you've never met a pet name. She's right. A simple "good morning, Holly" would work. Okay, probably same age, same way of thinking. Who cares? But yeah, that's just wild to me.
soon. Calling someone sunshine is affectionate and somewhat personal.
She's really standing
Feels
on this.
like the emotional pace is being pushed faster than what's mutually established.
The emotional pace is being pushed faster. Yeah, you guys are older. You're in your 50s. Guys is not beating around the bush. He wants to get in a relationship. You're like, I would assume that's the case. You pass your prime. You're in your 50s. You're already past menopause, all that shit. I don't know if she got children or not, but wouldn't you want to cut past all the bullshit? You're older now. You guys don't need to, worry about the bullshit or trying to play a player, all that other stuff. You just go right to it. This is what I like. What you doing? Oh, this, that, and the other. This is what I'm doing. What are you doing? Get past the BS. Get to the relationship. You can figure things out as you go along. But apparently that's not what women want anymore. They want to try to act like they're still in their 20s, maybe even their 30s, thinking they can just play these games, thinking that they're more valuable what they're actually worth. I could see if she was in her 20s, I would stretch to the 30s, have some type of value. But in your 50s, only thing you could really do is, attend Parcheesi night or go play shuffleboard. If you're in shape, we can go hiking or horseback riding. If you're still in shape, decent shape, you could do the nasty if you're able to still do stuff like that. But in that though, like, why are you beating around the bush? Your time is limited.
And gentlemen, in your defense, there are a lot of women out there that will fall for this. They
There's not nothing to fall for. The guy just said, "Good morning, sunshine." I just don't see how that's such an issue. That is wild. She posted this 3 hours ago.
will see or imagine that there's a closeness that's not really there. Women won't fall for it. So that's why men do it.
No, men don't beat around the bush, especially older men that know what they want. You know, she's still trying to play these little 20-year-old, late teenager games when you don't have that luxury. So yeah, I don't understand it.
Gentlemen, I know you've done it. You've all done it, and it's okay. Just remember that sometimes when you send it, it might not be received with the intention that you were hoping for. That's all.
Get over yourself, lady. It's not that serious. I'm looking at your face. You're older. So I hate to say it. You know, Kevin Samuels was right. Rest in peace, the GOAT, the Godfather. But, you know, your value doesn't increase the older you get. You know, nothing increases the older you get other than maybe, you know, I don't know, diamonds and certain precious metals. You know, but typically as things get older, their value decreases. You know, so a guy telling this to her, not beating around the bush, he knows what he wants. She's trying to play these games because she thinks she has tons of options, which she really doesn't. So I'm not understanding her way of thinking.
It might be received with some uncomfortableness, or it might be a turnoff, or it might,
Yeah, she's a
I
Karen.
don't know, it might feel like to a woman that you're trying to push things along a little bit too quickly. But if they're into it, they're going to like it. So, you know, it is what it is, guys. I know that you're upset. You don't like to be called out.
That's not even the case. You're making something that's a nothing into something that's what the fuck, you know?
But dating is a two-way street. And who knows, maybe the advice could help some of you.
That's crazy. What these comments got to say? Good morning. Good morning, sunshine. Let me know how being single is or being alone is. Get over yourself. Different stroke for different folks. We all have preferences. No big deal. You're inoffensive. That is wild. Oh, here we go. So I was on the tennis court and I get a text. I wear an Apple Watch. I get a text from someone I have never met and never gone out with before. We have not even been on a first date, and he wrote me a text that says, "Good morning, sunshine." I felt sick to my stomach. That is love bombing. That is inappropriate. That is not cool. Like, that is. Again, inappropriate would be "Good morning, sexy." "Good morning, sweet thing." "Good morning, sugar," or "sugar wall." I don't know, something. But "Good morning, sunshine." It's like bright day. She seems like I think they're in Florida. "Good morning, sunshine." You know, it's bright out there. You know, just comparing to the sunshine, and she gets an ick. Wow. Ick. Oh my God, that's an ick. I just got the icks. What's an ick for you guys? Do you know what an ick is? Like, ick is like, I literally cannot.
Yo, to be in your 50s dating
See?
and talking about you got the ick, saying you got the ick is crazy, number one. Number two, associating it with a person that you just met that you exchanged information with, and then they saying good morning, sunshine. That's crazy. See, now y'all don't have to sit there and complain and say, oh man, it's only applicable to black men or black culture, or it's only applicable. Nope, this is a problem within Western culture.
Yep. Same thing you said before. There's like a couple of guys who, you know, they see a woman walking. "Hey, good morning, beautiful." Ew, don't call me beautiful. You know, it'd be a random stranger. It just says, you know, that, you know, man notices she's beautiful. "Good morning, beautiful." Or a guy says, "You should smile more. You're beautiful." Ew, that's an ick. They find things like that offensive. You got to think about going back to the days like you know, I'm a Gen X. I was born in '78. So my father, my mother, you know, going back earlier than that, how men would greet women in the morning, you know, tip the hat, "Good morning. Good morning, beautiful. Good morning, lovely day. You know, stay beautiful, smile, you're awesome." Women back then appreciate stuff like that. Now, women, you know, you tell them and they just, "Oh, it's the most offensive thing you've ever heard in your life." And let me call the cops, because that's sexual harassment. That's where we are these days.
And this is also why there's a lot of guys that's choosing to completely divest themselves from American culture when it comes
Stay
to
away,
dating.
because
So their
you'll catch a
finances,
case.
their resources, the things that they then generate that ultimately give them their wealth, and then they take that wealth and then they go and find somebody else from a completely different country. Now, I'm not a huge advocate for um, you know, running over and getting boxed somewhere else. I just could never understand the logic behind flying to another country just to pay for box. However, I am an advocate for going where you appreciate it and not where you tolerate it. Meaning that I believe that these women in this country, in this culture, and it's not obviously all women, and it's not applicable to every situation. I think that there are some phenomenal situations, and I've seen some really, really good, submissive, cool women that just don't even talk like this. They just got a different type of demeanor, disposition of how they view life. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Because I've been around the world numerous times, talked to many different types of women, culturally, racially, and never had any issues. Good morning, sexy. Good morning, beautiful. Depends the time and place, obviously, but I never had a pushback like this before. So this woman is way too into herself, and they think she's better than she actually is. And I don't know, she may have not been feeling the guy that she gave the number to, or she wasn't expecting this type of, you know, response, or this type of salutation from him. It's an ick, that she's probably still thinking that she's the shit when he's just addressing her just a normal. So yeah, I don't get it.
I think you should go where you celebrate it and not where you tolerate it. And a lot of these guys are saying, I just don't even want to be associated with
Mm-hmm.
the culture. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference between paying for box and experiencing other cultures. And when you get to experience other cultures, you realize that it is very toxic for a woman to have been on the earth this long and talking about having the ick from a person that's saying good morning. Is there any cadence to where you're supposed to, say good morning? Are you just supposed to say good morning and that's the end of the conversation? No, I don't even believe in
Yeah,
texting.
think about that though. You text somebody in the morning, you say good morning. That's just so cut and dry, binary, ones and zeros. Just good morning. Or even if you like say her name, good morning, Jennifer. It just sounds so plain, plain text, so business. Nothing casual, nothing, breaking the ice type of thing, nothing inspirational, or, not really lovely, but just sounds so face value. Bam, good morning. Versus good morning, sunshine, just something uplifting. And she gets the ick. That is wild.
At this point. So I don't know. I just got a whole nother perspective about how life is, but I think a lot of these people are just miserable, absolutely miserable.
Exactly. But like I said, nothing to say else other than what I've said, Anton hit it on the head. It's just people are so miserable these days that they can't take a compliment. They can't take someone being nice to them, someone just greeting them, greeting of the day, good morning, sunshine. Oh, but I don't know. Overvaluing themselves, I guess. But that's my thoughts. That's my comments on it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Ladies, chime in. Let me know how you feel about that. Would you want somebody telling you good morning, sunshine? Is that really that offensive? Does that give you the ick? Like I said, let me know. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, give me a thumbs up. I'll catch you next video. Peace.